Kind of an important guy to talk to on a day like this. Oregon head coach Dan Lanning, all the way out there on the West Coast, probably breathing heavily even as he joins. You guys have been busy today, man. What time did the day start?
Well, 4 a.m. out here is, 7 a.m. East Coast time, but we've been rolling through the night. It's been a good day for sure for the Ducks.
So a lot of folks watch on signing day and they haven't been tuned in to recruiting, from sun up to sundown like you guys have. So they just kind of come in and they see, oh, this guy flipped late. Oh, Oregon made a late charge for this guy. But if you're in the weeds of it and you're working the phones constantly, explain to folks in layman's terms as much as you can how relentless that process has to be of leaving no stone unturned.
Yeah, really, the entire process is about consistency, right? And things change throughout, the recruiting cycle. But if you can stay consistent, you always have a chance for great players down the stretch. And it's about relationships. It's a lot about a lot of pieces, what people see exist here at Oregon. And, I always say the proof's in the pudding. I think more and more players are wanting to be a part of what we're doing here because we have a phenomenal staff and a great setup here.
I know you got to be careful. I mean, I'm sitting here looking to a screen just off to my left. I see Ryan Pelham flip his commitment to Oregon. Don't even know if the paper's in. Don't know if you can talk about him. But in general, some of these guys that you made late moves for, how fluid is the last 72, 48, and 24 hours leading up to signing day for you guys?
Yeah, you're always knowing there can be some moving parts. But again, like I said before, as long as you're consistent, you normally walk into the end game knowing that you're sitting in a good spot with some great players that can make a change and make a difference for your program. And that's the way we felt down here at the stretch. We felt like that we were in play for some really good players that had decisions to make, and we were able to, finish it off.
What were the focal points on this class? What were specific areas of concern that you wanted to address?
Yeah, several. We wanted to find dynamic playmakers on the offensive side of the ball that can create explosive plays. But I think really it always starts for us, up front on both sides of the ball, getting some guys on the offensive line and the defensive line that can make an impact. That's where games are won in the trenches. We wanted to add some speed, in the secondary and some length. I think we were able to find that. We were able to find some, linebackers that are instinctive. So several positions, whether it's tight end, D-line, really across the board, we were able to kind of add guys that we felt like could be big-time impact players for us.
Let me ask you this. So today's National Signing Day, we're talking about high school football, but high school kids are paying attention to at least moves that you make in the portal as well. How much talk do you get? How much traction does that get in the living rooms or on the phone late with guys at the high school level knowing, hey, if I come there, I'm being paired up with big names that I'm seeing come there from the portal as well?
Yeah, I think more than anything, guys recognize success. They've seen the guys that we've been able to sign, whether that's enhancing our program through the portal or bring guys. We had several high school players that were freshmen this year for us that made a big impact, in their freshman season. And I think guys want to play with great players. We've been able to bring great players here, develop great players here. So that's something they want to be a part of.
You guys are about to move to the Big Ten. So, nationally, a lot of people talk about the style of play, which has probably become a little bit of an overused term because, program to program, it differs. But when you look at the move, does it impact the style of team you want to put together? Do you look at the fact that we may go play here or there and stylistically we got to change? Or do you just have your approach and you think if you do it right, it works no matter which conference you're in?
Yeah, we believe in winning football, right? And winning football to me, it doesn't exist based on a conference. It's based on, the attributes of your team. So we want to make sure we get the right pieces in place for our team. I feel like if anything, there's going to be some teams that have to adjust to what we do. And we're going to make sure that we always try to do the best job of getting great talent in here and then more importantly, developing that talent.
You guys are sitting here right now, according to a lot of folks who do this for a living, as maybe having the best defensive line haul in the entire country when all is said and done. I don't know that I've ever sat at a desk and said that about a West Coast team, much less the Oregon Ducks. What does that mean? When you came from Georgia, you've been in the South. They say that about Southern teams. They're saying that about Oregon now. How much does that mean to you?
Well, I think it translates again to winning football, and we know that we have to win games up front. And the best way to have great coverage is have a great defensive line. The best way to stop the run is have a great defensive line, and we realize that. And I think players are realizing they don't necessarily have to go to the South to go, have that opportunity. Or on the same note, they feel comfortable coming from the South or the East Coast to come out here and play for a team like Oregon, where they can get developed and perform at a high level.
Do you notice a difference in that? Like, I've had kids tell me over the past probably half decade, technology has kind of shrunk the United States a little bit, and that it's not any big thing to go from the state of Georgia to the state of Oregon like it used to be maybe just 15, 20 years ago. Is that the kind of vibe that you get from kids when you start to recruit them from different areas?
Yeah, Oregon's been a place that's recruited nationally for a long time. And I definitely think, distance used to be a limitation. But when people recognize opportunity, it's not necessarily about what's most convenient. It's about what's best. And I think a lot of players see that this is the best opportunity for them to grow and develop and be a part of a team that they want to be a part of.
When you guys wrapped up the season, you had a great regular season. You have one hiccup. You get another shot against Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. And that is I'm sitting there on the field watching it, and I'm in your press conference afterwards. And it's a gut punch. And if you're a fan, you kind of just get to, mope around for the next week. If you're you, or if you're your staff, you got to fly home that night, and you got to put pedal all the way down to the floorboard to ultimately, hopefully, do what you guys are putting the finishing touches on today. But talk to folks who don't do this for a living like you do on how quickly you have to be able to mentally turn the page, one of the biggest upset moments you're going to have all year, and immediately you got to get right back into it.
Well, the one way to improve it is to improve your roster. And that's certainly our focus, is to continue to get great players here. But there's no time to sit back and cried over spilt milk. We have to get back to work, and I've got a great staff that's done a phenomenal job of bringing pieces to the puzzle. And we know that we can outwork people, right? That's a big piece of this, is you got to be willing to go back to work even when you don't feel like it. And we got a group of people here in this organization that are willing to do anything and everything to make sure we get the right pieces, in our program. And that's a big piece of that.
Right now, a lot of the focal point on shows like mine, when we look at different programs, some programs have been, and then they waffle a little bit. Others are on the rise, and others have been dominant for a long time. And the common thread for the ones that are on top is they've been able to evolve and adjust with the changing landscape in college football, which has probably changed over the last 5 years more so than any 5-year period in the history of the sport. How frequently, even as still a pretty new head coach in your own right, do you have to sit down and do a healthy inventory of, here's how I've done it, here's what I believe, here's where we may need to start evolving, here's where we may need to touch up a little bit? Like, what's that process? When do you have time to do that?
Well, it's every day. It's every day. And, part of the reason I came to Oregon, when I think of Oregon, I think of innovation. I think of being on the cutting edge. And, this is a place that's done a great job of adapting to the changing culture of college football. And that's a stat. We have a staff that's hungry for growth too. But if you're not adapting, if you're not learning, I've learned this from the best coaches I've been around, then you're going to fail. And we want to be on an upward trajectory, which we are right now. So that's a big piece of us, is, taking what we learned, processing it forward, adjusting how we do every little thing in our program to make us better. And it's been a big, piece for us to have success.
That's Dan Lanning, head coach of the Oregon Ducks, squarely now inside the top 6 nationally. Brother, congratulations. Continued success out there.
Appreciate it, Josh. Thank you. Have a good one.